All you need is a little juju. All you need is a little juju. All you need is a little juju. All you need.
Hello, y'all. Welcome to another episode of A Little Juju podcast. Hopefully, you all have transferred over to Juju Land on JujuTube, aka YouTube, so you can watch me and the beautiful Tam, aka Iya Osundara, aka Bruja Benson. Hey, boo.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm really excited that we can finally get this interview together and that you are here, because I feel like, we've crossed paths, a few times in Baltimore, but I feel like we've been able to kind of get to know each other's personalities on Twitter. And it has been such a joy.
It has been.
Experience you on Twitter land and the hot takes and the spiritual advices. So I'm just so excited to get into some of those things today with you.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So tell us who you are. What is your title? What's your origin story? Give us the background.
Okay, so most people know me as Tamara, also Iya Osundara. I'm an Oshun priestess. I practice Ifa Isheshe. I'm originally from New York. But I've been in Baltimore for like 7 years. So I've been trying to say like I'm from Baltimore, but
you can claim it.
I
give you permission to claim.
I keep asking my friends like who are Baltimoreans, like, I've been here for a minute. Can I just say I'm from here now? But I've been in Baltimore for 7 years. I'm a tarot reader. I'm a spiritual bath lady, as you can see in the background. So diviner, spiritual bath lady, priestess, which is still weird to say because it's still very new. But yeah, that's me. My parents are Jamaican, so I'm first generation American. Big up all my West Indians. And yeah, that's who I'm is. That's the basics of like who I am.
So you're newly initiated priestess.
Yes.
Like
yes.
How fresh?
So I got initiated last November. Okay. So I was in my EOL year up until, I want to say earlier like the end of September. So technically, for those who don't know, your EOL year is like a year-long process. But as you told my godmother, like, they good. We can be Iya, so I'm officially Iya now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you very much.
So how did you find Orisa tradition? Was it something that you've always been involved in? Is this a kind of a new thing? How were you raised spiritually?
So I think like most Black folks, I was raised Christian. And I always find it funny when people on Twitter are talking about like church and stuff, because like I was not raised in a lit church. I didn't grow up Baptist. I didn't grow up like Amy Zion. I grew up Anglican. Like, and for those who don't know, Anglicanism or Episcopalianism is like Catholic light.
Okay.
So it's very like, we got the organ, prim and proper, hymnal 1892, service is an hour, and we're done. Right. So I had never experienced a Black church until I went to college and like went to some services with my friends. So like I never really grew up listening to gospel or anything like that. Again, not until my 20s.
Right.
Did I really start getting into it. So no, I did not know about Orisa tradition. That's not something I grew up with. In my 20s and just in college, one of the reasons I left the church was I always noticed that like the nice, nasty people were the ones who were like, but I'm gonna give my praise to Jesus. And I was just like, I don't like that.
Right.
I just was like, I don't like that. I'm not here for that. So that really was like my push to like just be done. Not necessarily with Christianity, but just like church.
Right.
And then I moved to Baltimore in 2013. And a friend of mine at the time was also into spirituality. Like we were just two new baby witches trying to like get the manifestation thing going.
Right.
Started working with candles, started looking more into other forms of spirituality. Not necessarily abandoning Jesus, because like that's all I know. And I'm not like some of these people, no shade, but some of y'all believe in Jesus and then try to be playing with deities that you don't know about. And
talk about it.
I'm too scared. Like, I was too scared. So,
right.
You know, when I did my work, I was calling on angels and I was calling on Jesus because that's what I knew. Right. And I think it's really important to, you know, always stay in your lane. There's nothing wrong with like feeling like I'm gonna leave church. Cool, leave church. But like if you know Jesus and you know whoever, then work with that. This was even before I even figured out like ancestral veneration. That's even before that. So, and one of the things that I love about Baltimore is that there's such like a cool like woo community here. So just visiting like some of the different shops in the city, so like Grandma's and Crystals, Candles and Cauldrons out in Hampden, and just like going to different events. I went to my first Misa at Crystal Candles and Cauldrons.
Oh wow, that's so interesting.
Yes, they had a Lukumi Babalao, and I was me and my friend, and he was holding Misa. So me and my friend were like, let's fucking check this out. Yeah, and then you know, I was like, what is this? Like, girl, I had never even felt spirit before. Like, so I was like, what's this tingly feeling? What is this? And he was like, oh, those are the spirits. And I was like, huh. Wow. Never experienced nothing like that in my life. And from there, he had said, like, and I've had other readings, like with tarot readers and stuff, like, you need to find a spiritual community. You need to find a spiritual practice. And I was just like, cool, but I'm not going back to church. So I feel you, but church ain't it. And if you know Baltimore, you know there's a church literally on every corner.
Every corner. A liquor store and a church. Count on it.
Everywhere. And I actually lived like 2 blocks from Episcopal Church. And I was like, just go. And I was like, no, I'm good. And then when I moved, I actually live across the street from Episcopal Church. And I was like, y'all play all day. And I was like, I'm not going back to church. And the last Misa I had went to over there, the Babalao, when the spirit came down, was like, you need to be initiated. You need to receive your warriors. You need to be initiated. And I almost joined his house, but something was just like,
it ain't it.
And you know, these traditions are very expensive. So like it's a big monetary commitment. At the time, I didn't have the money to pay him. And then also like, and again, there's nothing wrong with Lukumi, but for me as a Black woman, I don't have any Latina background. I'm not Hispanic. And so I just really couldn't see myself practicing a religion that a lot of their stuff is in Spanish.
Right.
And I think it's good for folks who have found their home in that, and that's cool. But just like for me at the time, it just didn't feel right.
Right.
I ended up finding my godmother because she used to own a shop. She used to own her own botanica on 25th Street. And she also had misas at her shop, and I went there for those. And then I saw her at the first Daughters of the Moon in 2015. And I heard her speak.
Witchy conference in Baltimore.
Yes. And I heard her speak, and I was like, I gotta get a reading from this lady. So I got a reading. Of course, if you've gotten read by like a reputable priest, you know, they will just tell you about your life, tell you about your business. And I just kind of was like, well, girl, so can I join your house? And my godmother is the type of priestess where she divines on everything. Yeah. So she don't just say yes. She divines. If Oya says that we good. So she divined, Oya said yes. And I joined, and that's like, I've been with that my Ile ever since. Wow. So like since like 2016, I've been practicing Ishe.
Wow. That is such a full story. What you were saying about staying in your lane and calling on the spirits that you know. So even if it is that you just know Jesus or the angels, like you can still work with them outside of like this church space. And I think that is what a lot of our ancestors did, even the kind of deeply spiritual, quote unquote, witchy things that they did. It incorporated Jesus. So it incorporated Jesus,
Absolutely.
and angels, it incorporated saints. So it wasn't separate. So I really like that you said that. And also this idea of, I know you probably get this question, but I get it all the time too. Like, how do I find an elder? Like, how am I going to know? And it really is just like, you just find them. Like, it's not, it just happens. You're at an event, you run into somebody, you're at a thing, and then they just come to you. And I appreciate you telling that story, because that's like so many people's stories, how they found their elders.
Yeah, and I mean, and even still, I know people who have joined one elay and then like maybe it met them at where they were at that point in time and they had to leave or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we all have teachers who teach us at different phases of our lives. I'm very thankful that, you know, my elay is where I'm at. I'm not, unless my grandmother was like, bitch, get the fuck out of here. Like, I ain't leaving her. Right. I'm very grateful for her. But there's also, you know, one, good elders don't shop for godchildren. Period. They do not shop for godchildren. They don't enter your DMs. They don't approach you. Even if you get a divination with them, they will never ask you to be a godchild.
Nope.
So if anyone's asking you like, oh, that's not somebody you want to deal with.
Right.
And two, people, you want an elder that has like integrity. You want an elder that is just has like a really high moral standing in general. Ask people about them. Because it's a big community, but it's also a very small community.
Yeah.
A lot of these elders, especially those who've been in the game for like 20 plus years, they all know each other. And you know, people who've either gotten work done for them or who have like interactions with them. You know, you have to ask questions. And then also I feel like if you are intentional and you are really serious about getting into any kind of ATR, DTR, religion or practice, and you are telling whoever you pray to that like, this is what I want, this is what I need for my spiritual growth, they will always make sure that your paths cross, right? So like I said, I had been getting these messages about like, you need to join a spiritual house. And I said, cool. I ain't going back to church, because at the time I didn't know what an elay was.
Right.
That's not something that had ever been told to me, or even in my research, I never come across that. But our paths crossed. And that's like,
and that's it.
Is it like, it sounds very trite in a way and very serendipitous, but like that's how these spirits move. They just make sure like you are in the right place at the right time, you see the right tweet at the right time, you know what I mean, like different stuff like that. And I mean, I've even a couple friends who are trying to get into the religion. I always will be like, if you need a divination, go to my godmother. And they may not have necessarily joined our elay, but they have found their own spiritual house based on that.
Right.
Like I said, good godparents, they don't shop for godchildren. They're not asking people to join their elay.
They're not messaging you, be like, hey,
no,
you want to be my godchild and get a reading? If anything, they're mostly annoyed.
Just be like, damn it, another one.
Irritated and ornery. So
yes.
That's a good godparent. Yep.
Damn, I ain't want no more.
Right. That's actually them. So right. So did you know, in your journey, was priesthood something that you were expecting, you were seeking out? Like, did it kind of come up in a reading for you? Like, how does that work?
It came up in a reading, but it's not anything where I was like, oh, I need to be a priestess. Because again, like, as an Aberrisha, not that it's like easy. This journey is not easy by any means, but like, aside from seeing what my godmother did as a priestess, I didn't really have any kind of frame of reference for what priesthood would be like as on a personal level.
Right.
And it's not like where, again, I'll use the church because that's the, my frame of reference. It's like, for the most part, we know what like pastors and priests and bishops go through their seminary school. There's like all these things that they go through. ATRs, and specifically Shay Shay, despite the things that are online and that you can Google, it's still very secretive. It's still very like, if you know, you know, you don't, you don't. And some things you don't find out until you get initiated.
Right.
But it had come up in my first reading with my godmother about initiation and how I need to be initiated to kind of help me along in my journey. Also, people need to remember that initiation is not about being a practicing priest or blah, blah, blah. Sometimes that shit is to save your fucking life.
Yes.
Sometimes that shit is so that you have that added protection because of whatever you're going through. You need to be initiated. Yeah. Thankfully, it wasn't that for me, but I think people have this conception that you get initiated and then like, blow.
Now that's it.
That
you Iya, period. Like,
and it's like, no, that's just the beginning.
Right.
That's just the beginning. So, initiation had come up, and I've known people who've had waited a really long time to get initiated, and they started getting sick. They started getting these really bad headaches because they kept putting it off. I wanted to avoid that.
Yeah.
So I had started getting dreams about it. After about 2 years of being in the Ile, and I had gone to my godmother, like, I just want to make sure I'm not crazy.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, it's time. And, this is what you need to do for it. And so as I always say, I joke with one of my god sisters, it's like, I just don't want no smoke from the Orisha. I just don't want, like, I've had enough spiritual chin checks in my life where I'm just like,
yes,
y'all got it.
Chin checks, right.
And especially as a child of Oshun, she's very pushy.
Yes.
And I told you what I told you. I said what I said.
So.
So I was like, you got it. Yeah, I got you.
Right.
Bird.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about, for folks listening, like, this is not something that she can tell us in detail, obviously, about her initiation process, but just in general, what does it mean to be initiated? What are some kind of things that that may come up or that you're interacting with throughout an initiation process?
So one, it's a lot of money. It's this not no $500, this not no $1,000 process. This is a lot of money.
Yes. And why? Can you talk about why it is a lot of money?
One, people need to understand that you are paying for animals because there's ebo that has to be done, right? And I don't think that's nothing that's a secret, as ebo is done throughout. And by ebo, I mean animal sacrifice that's done regularly through in the tradition. Right. So you're paying for your ebo. You are also paying the priests for their time and their ashe for this process. And when you are praying, like, because, there's always this conception about like practitioners need to be fucking broke and why we charge people what we charge people. And like, I know that's a whole conversation, a whole separate thing. But in terms of initiated priests and babalaos and priestesses and ianifas, you are paying their Orisha. You are paying spirit.
Yep.
You are also paying so that you are safe and that you're not fucked up. You're not out here getting jacked up, because if somebody doesn't know what they're doing, that could really harm you.
It could be deadly.
You could really be out here being harmed.
Right.
In Ifa Sheshe, we do not go through, like a year white, like a lot of Lukumi people do. We do shave our heads. So I was a bald head, small head, bald head, small head, bald head, small head. And just like, they are essentially putting that Orisha in you. It's not, it sounds a lot it's intense, but like it was such a beautiful experience for me. And I had been also with two of my other god sisters at the time. And so even in that, like it was such a beautiful bonding experience with them to be going through this process. And I've cut my hair short before, but I've never been like,
oh.
And I was like, all right, we're just gonna be bald. And I just was like kind of prepping people in my life, like, you know, I'm gonna be bald. I mean, I got the wigs, girl, but
right. So you can wear wigs?
Yeah. I mean, because like for my 9 to 5, I can't wrap up my head.
Okay.
So I wore wigs to work. I do keep my hair wrapped, not so much anymore, but like during my AOL year, like my head was just wrapped up because you're so much more sensitive.
Right.
You're so much more sensitive to the world and to like other people. So it's just easier to protect your ori and protect your head just by like keeping it wrapped up. But yeah, I wore wigs to work because I can't show up at the office. And, you know, and I try like my personal life is my personal life. My work life is my work life. So I try to keep those things very separate. And they ask a lot of questions. So yeah, I just kept the wig on.
Right. That makes sense. So can you talk a little bit about your Iya year? Well, tell us what that means. And then like, what is the purpose of that? And what are some things that happened during that year?
So your Iya year is basically you as an initiate. I think that the meaning was like wife of the Orisa. So I wasn't Iya Dara, I was Iya Orisa Osundara. And it's just basically, I akin it to being accustomed to like this deity, like this spirit, like almost like getting adjusted to like living in your body, right? And which is why people say like that you're crowned, because it's literally like sitting right here. And for me, my AOL year was really about listening and being still. There's a lot of learning that goes on, like, you know, in learning on like how to be a priestess and certain things that we do as priestess under my godmother. But like as a personal journey, it's been a lot about just like really being still, really being disciplined and like taking care of my shrines and my ancestors, because again, I feel like people do not give you the full story. They're like, yo, we set up this ancestral altar and we talking to them every day. Girl, I didn't do that.
Right.
Crazy. I always say that like my spirits bully me because they know like if you don't give me a directive, I'm gonna just be sitting on my couch watching the ID channel all day.
Not the ID channel.
Yeah, I love me a murder show. Love me a murder stories. People crazy. You know, I'll sit up here and just gag. And it took me a really long time. Like I had an ancestral altar, but I wasn't tending to it maybe the way that I should.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got Oshun, and I should also say this, like I got an Oshun pot before I got initiated. Okay. It had come up in a reading. That is something like, you know, in a Sheshe, we operate under the guise that like, if stuff comes up in a reading, you need it.
Right.
You know, so I had been working with her, I want to say a year before my initiation.
Okay.
And I knew when I got her, because this is serious, you know what I mean? Like if I have to take care of you a certain way, I can't then like not take care of my ancestors. That's janky.
Right.
You know, and I'm grateful to my ancestors that they're very patient with me. Like they did get my ass, but they're for the most part, like they're very, very patient with me. My Ori is very, very patient with me. Oh, sure, not so much. Not so much.
Right.
But that helped instill some discipline in me and to talking to them regularly, divining to them, checking them, giving them offerings regularly. It's not an overnight process. It's definitely something that if you're serious, over time you will get better. So I think a lot of people feel this pressure sometimes to like, all right, I got to feed my ancestors every day or every Sunday. I'm Jamaican. My people really only care when I make Jamaican food. If like some people, girl, I'm really jealous of y'all who can give your ancestors eggs and bacon and coffee and be like, what the hell is this? So when I make Jamaican food, so like I'm talking oxtail, ackee, that's when I feed them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, but they get like light and water and gin and rum and stuff like that. But like food, no. Like food, like if they want food, it's like, all right, we're making oxtail. And then now that I have Ashu now, she's like, well, you can also run me some of that too.
I'll have some.
And she like, oh, you can also run me some of that too. So everybody eats.
We all eat.
Everybody's eating. So it's been a lesson in being disciplined and being still to really hear the messages, and also kind of like this sense of free will that like Christianity always pushes. It's like, oh no, you
right.
I have to do what the Orisha tell me to do. And in the grand scheme of my life, that has been like the hardest thing I've been reconciling over the last few months, because you have this idea of like what your life is supposed to be like. I had never intended to be like a full-time priestess, practitioner, spiritual bath lady, none of that. I just wanted to have my little 9-to-5, get my little regular check, have my little nice health insurance, right, and just do my thing on the side.
Right.
And I've been looking for a job for like the past 4 years. I had stopped, but like I had been looking for a job, and that's actually how like my prosperity bath came about. Cause I was like, I'm gonna make a bath and I'm gonna get this job. And it didn't do that, but right, not that it didn't work. It just didn't bring me the new job.
Right.
And this year I was like, all right, had my initiation. I had weight loss surgery in March. And I kind of felt like the things that I needed to take care of, they're taken care of. I did it. Now we can get this new job. And they were like, so you know that this is now it. And I was like,
right. This is the new job.
This is the new job. And I was like, no, this is it. And I was like, this is the job. This is the job. And I cried. I cried because I was like, this is crazy. I don't want to do this.
That's how it be.
And it's just like, well, all right, we here. It's so hard, because a lot of things that you thought you were gonna do, you're not gonna do.
You're not doing them. I feel like this is a good transition into something that, you brought up before when we've talked, was about surrendering to this whole process and surrendering to the Orisha or the ancestors or whoever.
Right.
And I'm wondering just how that's been for you as a new initiated priest, and just not going the way that you thought they were going to go, which is a valid thing to grieve,
So surrender always comes up in like when you're practicing spirituality in general, right? And I don't think people really understand what that feels like or what it means until like it's really placed in front of you. Like, you have no control over this. You have absolutely no control over this. And it's a good metaphor to even look at life. Like, not everything is a fucking spiritual sign or like somebody throwing at you. Like, no, sometimes life just be life and it's trash and it's just going to do what it do. You just got to roll with the punches. You have to roll with the punches. And for me, in surrendering into what my destiny is and what my path is ultimately supposed to be, it actually makes things a little bit easier because my people take care of me. My ancestors have always taken care of me. The Orisa now help in taking care of me. So I'm going to be good. It doesn't mean that I necessarily like what the fuck I have to do. Like, no, that shit's, that shit's annoying. But they have shown me time and time again, like the more that I have leaned into just this prospect of eventually being a full-time businesswoman or whatever, that like it's going to work itself out. But I'm also like very clear, like, if this is all right, I'm gonna let y'all do you, right? We're gonna work through this, but also, how I like to live. I don't want to be broke. I like nice things like everybody else. We still live in a capitalistic society. So it's cool that I have to do this work, but also like I can't be out here looking crazy.
I need the things that I need to as a human being.
And I make that very clear, and they've always shown up like, all right. And the times where I'm like, I don't know especially like with this pandemic and like the political climate of everything going on and making like, I've been working on making my baths and stuff. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like things just look so crazy right now. I'm like, why am I even doing this? And then they're like, but look, people need it. But look, you're going to be well compensated for it. But look, things are going to be okay. Right. And I'm just like, all right.
That's the trust and the surrender process.
And like, there's no other way to explain that to somebody until you've like fully experienced it.
Yep. Oh, Lord. I mean, I just feel like that's one of the hardest things. Like I had a whole moment this morning about surrendering to something, and it was just like, I don't even know how to do that right now.
It's so, and every time, like, because there are different moments where we have to just like surrender, right? So I moved down here 2013. I got a job, and I didn't come to Baltimore with a job. Like I was on some like faith. Yep. We gonna make it, sis. I had no job. I had no car. I lived in a studio for a couple weeks before like I moved into a 1-bedroom, and I moved down here in August, and by October I was working and I was cool. Then I got fired. And I was like, I ain't never been fired before. What the fuck? Like, what do I do? And I got fired in like August of 2014. And then by October, I had another job. And that like, those are moments where it's like, I actually don't have any control over any of this. Right. Like I'm going to do my part. I'm going to look for a new job. I'm going to figure out a way to make ends meet and take care of what I got to take care of. But I ain't come down here like with a job. I just came because I was just like, I need to leave New York. I need something different. And this is where I need to be. And that's a moment of surrender. But it's a different kind of feeling when like you realize like your entire life is not really yours, right? Because in our belief system, like your Ori chose this.
Yep.
Before you even came here.
Yep.
So you was gonna do this anyway.
Yep.
It might have taken you a minute to get there, but like this was what you was gonna do this anyway.
This was the plan.
And then finally, when I was like, I had the conversation with my ancestors, and I was shooting, and I was like, "Is this what?" And they were like, "Girl, welcome. We was waiting on you.
You here? Come on, baby.
Okay, now we can do what we need to do because you're here." And anytime like you have those moments where you're like, "All right, I guess this is what it is, and this is what I have to do," the universe, whoever it is that you are working with, will move mountains to make sure you get to where you need to be. Sometimes you just got to like lean into it a little bit. And I mean, even with initiation, when I found out how much it was going to cost, I was like, how am I get this child? I'm going to get this money.
Right.
But I made the money that I needed for initiation in like 4 months.
Yeah.
And like, it's a flex, but it's not really a flex. But it's to show like, okay, you're serious.
Right.
And I'm like, Ashun was like, I seriously need you to do this initiation. So I got you.
That's the thing. It's like, if you need it, that will work itself out.
Always.
If
doesn't mean that it's going to be easy and they're not going to be obstacles.
Right.
But it'll work itself out.
It will. If that's what you're supposed to be doing, it'll work itself
Always.
out. Always. Not without work, but it'll work itself out.
It'll work itself out.
So true. So how did you become, the spiritual bath lady? Like, can we talk about the baths? Because you got baths behind you. Like, was this pre Orisa? Like, how did that come about?
No. So again, my godmother. Shout out to Lori. My godmother taught us how to make spiritual baths.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about her, is that she teaches us these things so that we can help ourselves. And so that, like, you need your godparents for certain things, but if there are things that like you can do yourself, do them, right? And so I learned how to make spiritual baths. I would make myself baths. And like I said, I got my Ashun pot in 2018, and I know how to divine with Obi, so I can throw for like yes or no answers, and that's how I literally check to make sure the baths are ready. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna make this prosperity bath. I'm gonna make this bath to help me get a new job. And all it did was bring more business into my side hustle, which was the tarot reading.
Okay.
Like, I think the first night I took it, it was like I had like 10 people book readings with me, and I was like, that's not what I mean, thank you, but that's
right.
That's not why I did this. And then she was like, so you need to sell this. And I was like, huh? How am I do that? I don't know how to do that. These are live baths. I'm not, so here's the thing. People been selling spiritual baths. This is not a new thing. This is not anything random. People have been selling spiritual baths. People have been making spiritual baths. People have been taking spiritual baths. For me, I saw a lot of spiritual baths sold dry. So where people, the practitioner would send you the herbs and then you prepare them on your own.
Right.
And y'all, please don't take this as anything, but I just don't trust people to do that. Like, it just didn't sit with me well, even though I knew how to do it, that people would feel confident to do it in that way at home and just do it properly. I just don't. I see some of the questions people ask on the internet. Bless y'all hearts. So I really just wanted to make it as simple as possible. And because they're live, I had, in terms live, meaning that they're live herbs, right? Some of my baths use dry herbs, but like you're getting wet,
fresh.
It's done. I do all the work. I pray over it. I divine over it. It is ready to go. But I wanted to figure out a way to make it last in the mail, because overnight shipping, and especially now, like, I don't trust it. So someone else that I know, who, they don't make spiritual baths, but they make like rose water and stuff, and she put me on to a preservative that I could put into it. So it's water soluble. It doesn't mess with the integrity of the bath. And yeah, I literally was just like, people want to try this out. I don't know how you feel about it, but I got this little thing, send instructions. And it kind of just, because I kind of was also pussyfooting on it. And then I was like, but I told you
to sell it,
to sell it, not to just be giving it to your friend. No, you need to sell it. People need this. Heard you. Okay. I told you, I just heard you. I want no smoke. And so I've been selling them since late 2018.
Okay.
And it just kind of just took a life on its own. And I'm so grateful, but I was just like, this was not
right.
again, none of this was planned. Again, I just wanted to be a little side reader, do my little readings on the side, be an aberration, maybe a priestess, and then
mind your business.
Go about my bit. Like, I really just be here in my little apartment with
Right.
my boyfriend living life. Like,
right.
you know, but it's word of mouth. They work really well. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for my godmother who showed me how to just make spiritual baths. And then I just kind of took it and ran on it. It was none but me just looking up what are some herbs that will make me money and get me a job. I'm not an herbalist.
Right.
I don't have no sort of, I just literally was like, how I'm gonna do this.
Yes. I love that you're saying that. Go ahead. But I just love that you're saying that, because it really can be that, like, you can look things up and
I just Google. I was like, how money herbs.
Yes.
Spiritual herbs for money. And a lot of it is shit that's been in a supermarket.
Yep.
I mean, there's some little extra herbs there that like now haven't done it for so long that like I revamped some things just because I want to give it a little kick. And again, I take spiritual baths every week. I have to. That is something that Oshun and people in my house are very serious about. I take weekly spiritual baths. And it's like anything, you know, you take a medicine over time, it loses its effectiveness. So it's not that it doesn't work, like it's good. I just want something with a little more kick.
Right.
So I actually was talking to Ancestral Herbary. Just like asking her, like, you know, I just need to, girl, what I need to do. And she, you know, and I love her. She's so sweet. She just entertains my foolishness about herbs all the time and gave me some things. And so like in that sense, like I'm always learning.
Right.
I'm always learning about different herbs. Like I started with very base knowledge. Like my cleansing bath is based on the recipe that my godmother taught me.
Right.
You know, it's tweaked here and there, but like it's all the baths with the exception of maybe like one I've used on myself. And the only reason like the one that I didn't use was the cord cutting bath, because I didn't really feel like I had like, I personally didn't have any cords that I felt like I needed to cut. Right. But you know, I let people check it out, try it.
That bad? That one, honey. The cords are cut.
Yeah, like I don't put anything out there that like I haven't tried myself or I haven't given either my god sisters or friends to try out. So it really is, I tell people think I'm lying, like no, the reason that I sell baths is because Oshun told me to sell baths. Right. It's not like I was good just reading the little cards. I was
not the bath lady.
I did not need to become the bath lady. Like, and it's so crazy because my friend told me, she was like, yeah, my brother was talking about your baths. And I don't know how he found out about it because I blocked him online.
Yes, your name in the street.
So it's wild. I'm grateful, but I'm also like, some days I'm like, how the fuck did we get here?
Wow. Ooh, I resonate with that. Like, now what? What is this? Wow, that's amazing. And it just goes to show you how in surrendering, yes, and in listening, your life will take form in ways you didn't expect, but it's always in abundance and beautiful. And you get
period.
You just gotta listen.
You just gotta listen. And like, even with like, you know, this is a little off topic, but like people saying like readers are booked up and nobody's open for readings. One, I'll tell you this, elders are open for readings. Elders are always open for readings.
Yes, they are.
So that's one. So like Ifa, Ishe, Marindo, those are always open.
Yes.
Bone readings are always open.
Yes, they are.
Okay. They might ask and require you to do a little more work, right? Like follow-up work. But like, no, those type of readings are always open. Yeah. In terms of like tarot readers and card readers and intuitives and mediums, dog, like people are tired. We are also pandemic. Yes. We are also going through life. And I know, you know, as a reader, you tell people like, this is what you have to do. These are things that you need to work on. People not working on them. You have to do the work. And it's a joke, like me and my boyfriend be here and he's like, you about to do the work today? And I'm like, yeah, I gotta do the work today. He's like, go do the work. Like, go do the work. You know, you have to do the work. Like, it's not an easy process to be like, these are things that I have to work on. But y'all be going to like 5-6 readers, they tell you the same thing and you still in the same place because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. It is so, I promise you, if you just suck it up and just do what you're supposed to do, life opens up in a different way.
You have the things that you want.
You literally do.
That you've been praying for.
It's right there. It's right there.
Yep. That
literally, I was like, when the moment I was like, all right, guys, I'll do it. I'll do it. They were like, yes, here.
Like
here.
Whew. It's that work piece. And I was just talking about this with a friend yesterday. Like, what is it about the resistance to wanting to work? I mean, work isn't always fun. Like, it's tiring, it's taxing, it's annoying, it requires patience. Like, and I guess no one really wants to engage in that. But like, to know that when you work, you aren't just working for nothing. Like,
right.
You're working to reach something, but this resistance, especially in readings of like not wanting to follow through with the ebo, not wanting to take the baths, is always just something that I think about. And I'm like, what is that?
I think we live in a world where there's so much instant gratification, right? And people see practitioners, they see, you, like, I'm just use you as an example, fucking jujubae. Juju be out here doing her thing, living her life, but they don't see the work that Juju's doing behind the scenes, right? They don't see the work that Juju has done to get to where she is right now. Even with me, people are like, like the best. I've been working and doing my business since 2015.
Okay.
This is not an overnight situation, right? And to be completely transparent, the reason I started reading cards was because I was broke. I needed another job and I didn't want to leave my house. And I was just like, you know what? I think I'm pretty good at this. Let's just see how it goes.
Wow.
I was just in a situation where it's like, I do not have enough money to pay my bills. And I have been working continuously and I'm still working continuously. Like I said earlier, this journey, Isheshe, Wilkumi, Palo, these are not cheap religions. These are not cheap practices. So y'all don't even see how much thousands of dollars people have spent behind their scenes to make sure like they just out here being safe. Not even just for blessings, just for like, to make sure like nothing really pops off for protection and stuff like that. And so when you don't see that and all you see is just like, oh, she good, she whatever, you think that like people are not here crying or like having cried about whatever
breakdowns.
Literally. And this is not an Amazon situation. It's not Walmart. This is not Target. You a one-woman show. I'm a one-woman show. I'm here making baths, packaging. I'm the PR person. I'm my own accountant.
Right.
It's just me, and I'm not complaining. But like, if you only see the beauty and you don't see the blood, sweat, and tears, it's almost like it's not valid.
Right.
And you can't avoid pushing through challenges. You can't avoid pushing through like hardships because again, that's just life. That's just how life is. If you are not, and that's why like I tell people like I'm not the girl to come to if you're just trying to get some little basic ass reading, because I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in helping you evolve as a human being and be a better person. So you want the job, but maybe there's certain things at this job that you need to learn and certain flags that you need to look out for. One, so that you don't experience it at another job. Right. Two, maybe you need some protection oil to get your game up.
Right.
Maybe you have to learn how to spiritually defend yourself. And like, nobody wants to be like, well, I'm tired. Bitch, I'm tired of lessons too. Every day is a damn lesson. Like, every day is a lesson. You cannot avoid it.
Nope.
And, people just they want to hear what they want to hear. And that's not how spirit works.
You'll be disappointed every time.
Every single time.
Because I still am. Because I still be wanting to hear what I want to hear too. Just yesterday, I wanted to hear. Just yesterday.
I'm just that. People just there's no patience. And if there's anything that pandemic aside that this year should have taught people, it's just like, yo, sit down and listen. Right. You should be taking notes at every reading you get anyway.
Yep.
So if you were going back over your notes, you would have seen there's probably stuff you still haven't worked on. Work on that instead of worrying about like why people not open.
Right.
Don't worry about people not open because they're not open.
And they just not open. And maybe that's a sign. If you don't know nobody open.
People not open because they're not open.
Yeah.
And again, friends with readers. I know you're also friends with readers. It is exhausting. It's beautiful work. And I'm so grateful that I can do that work and I can help people in that way. I have besides this year, I have been reading nonstop for almost 5 years.
I don't know how. How you did that.
And we've seen each other at events in the city. We read it at events in the city, vending at events in the city. Y'all don't think we need a break? Just a little, just a little bit, please.
Just a pause.
I'm tired.
Right. Girl, thank you for speaking on that. For real.
It has really been grinding my gears where everyone's like, everyone is closed. Who's open? And people hit me up. Who's nobody? I mean, if you want a EFA reading, I got you.
Right.
Nobody wants those.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants those. Because they're like, no, that's that real serious. But I mean, card readings are serious. If you go into a good person, they're serious too.
Right.
It's always also invest in yourself, because that's how I look at when I get spiritual readings. I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in my well-being. I'm doing the work to protect myself and my family. And if you are not investing in yourself in that way, and I don't want to be y'all be out here eating brunch and whatever, enjoy your brunch. I love brunch. I miss brunch. Truly. Truly, I miss brunch. But if we're going to spend $50 at brunch, then girl, just go spend the $50 with a reader.
Right.
Just,
and then do the work.
Just do it.
Whew. Thank you for that. Listen, you always have just such good information about these topics, and you see what people are asking and saying, and you just always can respond so thoroughly now and on Twitter. So I had a couple things I want to play a little game.
Okay.
Just what your thoughts are on some of these hot topics that I see on Twitter from spiritual Twitter.
Okay.
Your responses to them. So you've kind of already answered this part, but just quick thoughts on Bible Laws in the DMs. What do we
cancel it. Don't ask nobody if you should respond. Just don't block. Block. Period. That's it. That's the only answer. Block.
Okay. So your thoughts on, my boyfriend broke up with me, but I want to still be with him. So I'm going to bind him or have someone else bind him to me. Thoughts?
Girl, seek help. Seek help. Don't do that. Leave that man alone. Don't do that. So if you follow me on the Twitters, y'all know I do not like love work. I love love. And it's funny because Ashuna's oh, I love you, Debbie, but I don't like meaningful love. That's what I like.
Right.
Meaningful love, deep love, serious love. If y'all broke up, y'all broke up. I'm not interested in love readings. Maybe you need to work on yourself. You messing with somebody else's free will. And for real, love work, a lot of times when done incorrectly, because I can understand love work if you're trying to reignite passion in an existing relationship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Things are not sizzled out maybe chemistry wise, and you just want a little razzle dazzle, a little razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle.
I can get with that. I can get if you want to make yourself feel more attractive.
Right.
So that like your self-confidence is exuding such that like people are attracted to that.
Yes.
Cool. I'm down with that. Anything when it comes to binding people, baby, that's how you get out here and get, you get shot, you get killed, you get stalked.
Yeah.
You end up with more problems than you want. The Craft. I hope everybody here has that, watched The Craft at least once. Girl, to bind the boy up in The Craft, and he was obsessive and tried to like kill her.
Yep. And that's real.
That's real.
Don't
leave it alone. Just, it's too many people out here in the world. Like, if y'all supposed to be together, y'all be together. If you're not, pray somebody else is going to come through that's 10 times better, and just, you don't need them problems. Don't do that.
Right. Okay. Thoughts on my ancestors aren't listening to me. What do I do? They don't hear me.
So one, I would say, how do you know they're not listening to you? Do you know what your ancestors sound like? And do you know how your ancestors are communicating with you? Some of us are able to divine so we can get clear yes or no answers, and if they've heard us or not. Those folks who don't have divination skills or are not there yet, I would implore you to ask your ancestors to show you how they communicate. Because sometimes it's through song, sometimes it's through just a conversation with a person about something you've been praying about off like some random, with technology. It could be just like you praying or you were asking about something and then you see something come down the timeline that's very like, there's that synchronicity there. But like I'll use myself as an example where I was looking for a job. And, obviously this was before I had like my aha moment and epiphany about like my life. And I was just like, y'all said I was going to get a job this year. Y'all playing games. Y'all are playing games with me. I said, I will shut this whole shit down. I'll shut it down. Took the light away, took the water away, put a white cloth over him. And I was like, so we're just going to like have a moment to get ourselves together.
Yep.
If this is a reciprocal relationship, sometimes you are the only person in your family venerating your ancestors.
Yep.
You are the only person who is talking to them, who is feeding them, who is giving them light. So I don't have time for y'all, respectfully, to play games in my house. Respectfully. The other night they took like my remote and I was pissed. And I mean, granted, it was because I didn't speak to them that day, but I was pissed. And I'm like searching. I was like, y'all took my shit. I said, you know what? Fuck this and fuck y'all. And I'm going to bed. Aloud in the house, empty apartment. I was like, fuck this, fuck y'all. I am going to bed.
Yep.
Good night.
Yep.
Again, I am comfortable talking to my ancestors that way because like I deal with them a lot and I've been dealing with them. I know who my ancestors are, like who's in my spiritual court for the most part. So, and they know it's just, that's me and this is how I talk. So it's not seen as being disrespectful, but like, if you can't divine, but you got a divination and you trust that diviner and they said, no, your ancestors got you for X, Y, Z. And maybe you gave it 6 months and still some shit ain't come through. You've been doing what you do. You feed them, you give them their coffee or whatever. Nah, shut that shit down. Give them like 3 days. Be like, no, we good. Yeah. That's true. Okay, cool. Because I'm good.
You better than me because mine got a 2-month pause. Like, okay, so bye. Clearly it's something y'all got to do.
Work it out.
I'm gonna give you time to work it out, and that they did.
I promise you reopen that up, they'd be like, okay, so sorry about that. Just kidding. Here you go.
You was just sorry. There was some stuff going on.
I'm in here giving y'all light, making y'all oxtail, giving you liquor. I give you oranges and y'all here
fresh fruits, tobacco. What's going on?
No.
Nah. Okay.
Not, y'all said not on my watch, not on my watch.
Not.
Not on my watch, not today. Mm-mm.
Yeah, respectfully.
Respectfully though, like not disrespectfully, like, but like respectfully, like we're not gonna do this.
Yes. We're not gonna do that though. Okay, dating as a spiritualist. How has that been for you? I mean, you have a boyfriend.
Yes.
So I also do want to talk about, because I just know for personally that he is not part of Orisa tradition. So
He
what's
is
that
not.
like?
I mean, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we were dating before I became an Aberisha, but he knew that I dibbled and dabbled with some stuff. I told him I was joining my Ile. I let him know. You know, he was very supportive of me with my initiation. I am not opposed to dating people in the tradition. Like, I'll also, like, even if something were to happen, like, I would probably not date anybody in the religion. One, because as a woman, I kind of like being like the spiritual, like, you know, if you need some shit, I got you.
Right.
It's me.
Right.
That's me. That's a personal thing.
Yeah.
And I know that's pure ego, but I'm fine with that. But two, he's always very respectful of my stuff. He does, you know, he's not mixing up and whatever. You know, we moved into a bigger apartment and he wanted to move something. He was like, I know, but this is where the ancestors are. So I didn't want to move the ancestors. He's very respectful. Yeah. He lets me do my thing. And I don't even want to say lets me, because I would be doing my thing regardless, but gives me space.
Yes.
He gives me space to do that. Where, you know, I'm up in the morning, I'm in here, I'm talking to Ashun, I'm up front, I'm talking to Eshu. You know, I cook. I have certain things in the house that are specifically for Ashun, and he knows, like, he'll ask, he's like, is this for the ancestors? Or he calls them all the ancestors. Like, one day I went to Eshu and I was like, what's goody, Eshu? He was like, did you say what's goody to the, you know, the ancestors? I said, I did. That's the boy. That's the homie. Love Eshu.
Like, roll dog.
What's up? What's good? But I think, you know, if you are trying to date somebody as a practitioner, one, be very honest about it. You know, my friends know, one of my sisters knows, my parents are not fully aware that, like, they don't know I'm initiated or anything like that. They know that I deal with my ancestors and I speak to them. They know about my business. They know I make baths. But for me, I don't feel pressure to tell my parents, because it's like, I'm an adult. It's not your business.
Right.
In the same way that, like, our parents have their own secrets, they have their own things that they deal with. That's not my business. This is not your business. It's my business, right? However, in being romantically involved and looking for partnership, it now becomes their business.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that, one, you should stand 10 toes down firm and be proud of what you practice. Don't let anybody be out here making you feel bad or demonize you. He's never made me feel like I'm weird. I mean, I'm weird for other shit, but, like, not this. You know, like, there are other shit we could definitely say that I'm weird about, but, like, not this. And I have, you know, I've said, like, if we have kids, like, I want my child to be embraced or, like, experience this religion. I'm also like weird where, like, I'm also, like, not opposed to my child going to church. I feel like kids should be able to choose what they want to practice. I didn't have a choice in what I practiced as a child, right? Like, most of us didn't. We all just, like, kind of went to church. I think it's fair for kids, if, you know, that is the case, like, let them experience this. One, because it's their birthright and it's part of their culture. It's part of us as Black people from an African diaspora. Like, that's part of our culture. But also, like, Black people, like, church is cultural for us too. And I think it's fair to like have them have that experience. But I'm very, like, clear on that. I'm very clear, like, as a priest now, like, my spiritual obligations are a priority. You know, it is a priority. I don't want to, like, minimize it, but I've even said to my sister, I said, in a way, it's like a job, right? So if I have to be somewhere, if I have something to do, it's a priority unless it's going to impact my money.
Right.
So I'm very open about it. My shrines are not hidden. He sees them. You know, he was in the military. He came home permanently this year. And when he came home, I was like, so you want to take a prosperity bath before this job interview? Sure did.
Right. Right.
Sure did.
Mm-hmm. That's my thing. I don't care what you just listen.
Just listen.
Just listen. If you need a bath, just go and take it. Just listen.
Listen. I was like, there's some money oil over there. Go.
Don't rub it. Don't.
He got the job.
Okay. And that's it. And period.
So you don't necessarily have to practice, but I mean, and I've also had the experience where men knew that I read cards and oh, you a witch. You're going to put, I don't like your ass that much to put no spell on you. Also, like, I don't have to, like, I'm that bitch. Like, I'm me.
The spell is this.
All of this. That's moi. I don't have to do that.
Nope.
I don't care. Like, I'm going to do spells to make money because that's what I care about. I really care about, like, just having money, being comfortable financially.
Yeah.
I'll never apologize for wanting money and always wanting money.
Yeah.
And always wanting to have money come to me.
Yeah.
But a relationship, no. So I would just say, like, for people who are nervous about that, like, be open. And if someone is like, it's different when someone's like curious and asks questions than when they're just like, oh, so you about to put, no, see,
and you
bye.
can go. Right.
You can go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Tell us, like, are you selling beds? Are you still reading tarot? Like, how do people find you and what do you offer?
Okay. So I am still closed, unfortunately, but I am working to be open by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I was formerly Bruja Tarot, but we are now Iolode's Corner.
Hey.
You know, Mafere Fu Oshun, she wanted her praise. So I sell spiritual baths, prosperity, road opener, cleansing bath. The new one, the real big new one is the cord cutting bath.
Should work, y'all, child.
And then, like, a supplement to that is an uncrossing bath because the cord cutting bath has walnut hull in it, and so just I made like a separate bath for people with nut sensitivities.
Got it.
So the uncrossing, and I just didn't want to put like nut free version because I was like, y'all gonna jack yourself up and just order it and then need an EpiPen. So it's a separate bath, does the same thing.
Yes.
I do offer tarot readings. That will reopen when my shop is opening it back up. Yeah. And this until probably January, I'm just going to be doing shadow work readings because that's my jam. And winter is a really good time to really do that shadow work. And yeah, so you can find me on the Twitter at Bruja Bantan, and Instagram is _@ Bruja Bantan. And the website is Iolode's Corner. It's still shut down, but that's IYALODES corner.com. And I've been telling people just sign up for the mailing list because that's probably going to be the first way that you will know when I'm reopening. And I am expecting things to sell out fairly quickly. I don't trust the algorithm. I don't. So I would just announce on Twitter and then people would miss it because of how the timeline is. So just sign up for the email list, and that link is in my bio on Twitter.
Yay.
Thank you for having me, boo.
Of course. Thank you for all of the information. I feel like you answered like all the questions that people have all the time. Like, this is going to be the interview. I'm like, please go to this interview, please. So I appreciate you so much for spending time and giving us all that tea. I really, really appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you. This was so fun.
Yay, me too. All right, boo. Have a good one. Thank you.
You too. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Confirm, no say.